Finally it was over. Another operation. Another baby born. Another night was over, too. Another day to face. I have to tell you, David, how I felt that morning. 2 nights in a row without sleeping. I was exhausted. I kept thinking, no one must see how I feel. It's nobody's fault. It's the war. There's too much to do. Babies have to be born just the same. Yes, it was morning, but not for me. Another day to get through. I couldn't do it. Only to you can I tell the truth, David. Only to my husband could I admit this. I was finished. Outside in the streets, Jerusalem was just waking up. How could they do it, the others? There you were, David. You smiled and waved, as though nothing were happening. What could I do? I pretended the same thing.
Shalom, Nomi.
But I knew you were going out on patrol. And suddenly, I knew that something was going to happen. I tried to pull myself together. If I could only get some sleep. I had to make that nursing class in 3 hours. Better try to get some sleep, I told myself. I really felt ashamed for being so tired. I knew what other people went through in this war. On one street, every tree was hung with signs, forwarding addresses, people who had moved because their houses no longer existed. I didn't even get halfway home, David. There it was again. And suddenly I was part of it. I was back at work. Till the end. How? With whose strength when I had none of my own? An hour ago I was finished. Now I started all over again. How? Maybe you could have told me, David. You've been through the same thing yourself in the army. Working, training for months, to be able to do a job when you had to do it, without resting, without thinking. Like the job your platoon was up against that morning. The enemy gun post in the hills that cut off the supply route to the city. It had to be destroyed.
שבו והקשיבו. ובכן אתה, אברהם, אתה תיקח את קבוצתך לעיקוף ימיני בשעה שאני אתקיף התקפה חזיתית. אתם תתחפרו על הגבעה שממול ותפתחו באש חזקה אותו רגע שאתם תראו רקטה אדומה. האם זה מובן וברור לכולם? ישנן איזשהן שאלות?
I made that class, David, and I realized what made me keep going that morning. It was all the things that happened to me when I myself was a student nurse. It was classes, lectures, drill, practice, in one Hadassah hospital after another, until I became the sort of person who, completely exhausted, could run to answer an emergency alarm in spite of herself. A nurse. That lesson I had to pass on to my students. Zipporah, who was born to be a nurse. Helen devoted herself to every mother and child who came in. Helen was the one, you know, who grew up in that French orphanage. Even among these, Ruth was special. She was the girl I told you about, who came to the school with 3 friends. One day, when Ruth was sick, her friends answered an emergency call. You know what happened, David. Now Ruth will never be satisfied, except by doing the work of 4 people. You know her whole story, the usual story that goes back to the concentration camp. Yes, Ruth is going to make a nurse. They all will. Our emergency hospitals were doing twice the job for which they were intended. We were short of everything. Wards, beds, equipment, everything. The strain never let up for a minute. Well, maybe for a minute. It felt good. It was too good to last. The head nurse wanted me. Not another operation. I couldn't. Not again. This morning was one thing, but this was too much. I had to tell her, David, I was going to. But I didn't have to. No, it wasn't anything like that. It was the most wonderful news. Avram, my little brother Avram, was arriving in Haifa today, and I could go meet him in an ambulance that was just leaving. For the second time that day, I felt like another person. I didn't think about my job or the war or those burnt-out trucks along the road. Once again, I forgot I was tired. All I thought about was Avram, and that seemed to give me new strength. With Avram, we could have a family. You and Avram and I, a real family. I couldn't wait to tell you. Would I ever get the chance? All the way to Haifa, I told the driver the story. How Avram and I got separated in Germany. How we missed each other by one day in Italy. I waited for him in Naples. How they made me take the ship. I lost track of him for years. And then Youth Aliyah found him. I'd always known that someday he would come here. And this was the day. And there was the ship, with all the children from Europe, gathered like lost sheep and brought home to Israel by Youth Aliyah. And there was Avram. It was really Avram. He knew me, David. He actually recognized me. I ran right through the gate without knowing it. This last wait was unbearable. The minutes between us seemed to pass more slowly than all the years behind us. I couldn't stand it. And then he was there. Years. But now the waiting was over. I had permission to take Avram with me to the children's center at Alonim. That little time at least we'd have to talk things over. Avram's friend Yosef came along too. He would stay at the camp until Youth Aliyah could find him a home of his own. That ride. At first I was afraid. Avram had changed on the outside. But how was he on the inside? He started to talk. He told me what happened. It was a miracle that he survived, but he had, and he was going to be all right. But before we could decide anything for the future, we were at the Hadassah reception center. The time was all used up. Avram would have to stay with his group until we could make plans. I couldn't wait to get back to Jerusalem. I had to see you, David. We had so much to talk about. Should Avram remain in a settlement until the war was over? Should he come to Jerusalem right away? Was it safe? Was it safe? What's that? A blinker signal. A call for help from the kibbutz. A call for me. Our family would have to wait. It wasn't peacetime, and I wasn't just a sister and a wife. Again, I was a nurse. Up in the hills, they'd been waiting too. They had telegraphed Jerusalem and knew we were coming. There was a pregnant woman. She was very sick. She had to get to a hospital. Simply moving her was a gamble. If they ever started shooting at us again. I tried not to think about it. I tried not to think about anything. I was a nurse again with a very sick patient. Suddenly, I remembered the fears I had that morning. For you.
פה הנה חבריה. שוב ותנוחו קצת. מה נשמע אצלכם? אהרון מטפל בו כרגע. אני רוצה שהוא יועבר בהקדם האפשרי לבית החולים בירושלים, אתה מבין? חבר'ה, חושבנו שעשינו עבודה יפה. על כל פנים נקינו את המשלט הזה. הדרך שוב תהיה פנויה. מעניין אותי לדעת מה הם יעשו עתה. האם הם יחזרו יותר או יתחיל שוב.
Night again. The hospital. At last. Rachel's pains are worse. Much worse. I must get her inside. Right away. It's only a matter of minutes. I've got to take care of her. Another ambulance. Maybe from the front. I've got to stay with Rachel. Just for tonight. Just one more night. Why does it take so long? We must get her inside. I must stay awake for her. Are they going to need the operating room too? I can't tell. I hope not. Oh my God. No. Not you. Not David.
נעמי, בואי הנה.
Forgive me, David. I must take care of Rachel. After 5 years, this? But our family, David, our family. Oh, David, you were breathing when they brought you in. Now they're going to operate. I know. I can see it all in my mind. In my mind, because I can't be with you. I can't. Understand, please. There's Rachel, suffering too, in agony. It's her time. She needs me. There's no one else. It's time. Time. Between me and Rachel, it flies, escapes. Is not enough. Then I think of you, and time stops completely. It's the same for her. How does she stand it? What makes us work? All of us. Soldiers, surgeons, nurses, students. There's something more in this room. A will to live, to come alive. Rachel and her child. And we, all of us, are bringing a people to birth. I know it now. A strength greater than time. It's a people older than time. That's it. For Rachel, it's over. It's a boy. But for you, David, and for me, for us.
נעמי, הניתוח נגמר.
What's that? It's over. The operation is over. Will I ever really tell you, David, all the things that happened since yesterday? I remember how 24 hours ago I would have given up anything just to sleep. Now I would give up sleep forever. For you, David. The night is over, David. Another day is beginning. Listen, there are troops in the street. Your men. Coming back, David. They won. For you, for me, for Avram, and Rachel, for all of us. Yes, thank God. For all of us.
Anu